May God affirm you on his throne, and Christ give you to rule with...
Marking Ridley Scott and Joaquin Phoenix's first cinematic rodeo in 2 whole decades, 2023's Napoleon is looking like it's going to be on the same level as Oppenheimer as far as historical films are concerned. The crazier thing is that this won't even be the only Napoleon project this year, as Steven Spielberg himself is jumping on the Bonaparte train with his own HBO TV series. What's interesting is that famed director Stanley Kubrick sought to make his own historical epic surrounding Bonaparte back in 1969, before the release of Waterloo, which was so critically panned that most producers didn't want to invest in another Napoleon tale. Luckily, with Ridley Scott taking on the challenge, and even utilizing some of the scrapped concepts from Kubrick, we get to see Napoleon on the big screen in all his tactical glory. The only question is, how much do you actually know about the Emperor of the French? For starters, maybe we should dispel some commonly believed quote-unquote facts about the leader and why they became such huge myths. When people think of Napoleon, they think of war, reforms, and, unfortunately, since it's easier to spread gossip than it is to teach history, a lot of folks remember hearing jokes about Napoleon's height at one point or another. Some cartoons like Times Quote even portrayed the historical figure as more of a dwarf than a military commander. However, the truth is much more mundane. For one, a big part of it had to do with British propaganda, which portrayed him as quote-unquote little bony. It didn't help that, after his death, his body was measured at 522 French inches, which were larger than what the British and Americans were using, making him around 170 centimeters. Another well-known myth is that Napoleon was the one responsible for the Great Sphinx of Giza's missing nose. Supposedly, he had ordered his troops to use the Sphinx as target practice during his Egyptian campaign, which was a baseless rumor and started out as a tourist legend. In fact, a Danish naval captain by the name of Frederick Ludwig Nordem made sketches of the Great Sphinx long before Napoleon set foot in Egypt. What's funny about this myth is that you often see it paired up with another, which states that Napoleon converted to Islam, which never actually happened either. Napoleon was open to the idea of persuading people with mere formality, which included pretending to be a part of their religion. However, the Muftis insisted on more than just a symbolic conversion. They demanded that all French soldiers pledge to abstain from alcohol. Naturally, Bonaparte wouldn't agree on this no booze idea, despite the two sides eventually joining forces. The most interesting part of the campaign in Egypt was its reasoning, however. In 1797, following his military campaign in Austria, Napoleon made a formal request and was granted an honorary membership in the scientific division of the French Institute. He actively engaged with the Institute's members, delivering presentations on a variety of innovative developments, which brings us to the whole trip. The Egyptian campaign was envisioned as both a major military endeavor and a scientific expedition, with the dual purpose of getting back at Britain through Egypt's commerce, which would position France as a hub for exploration and scholarship. Napoleon led a group of around 154 scientists to explore Egypt's history, geography, and natural phenomena. Their efforts resulted in numerous fascinating discoveries, most notably the unearthing of the now famous Rosetta Stone, an artifact that later played a pivotal role in deciphering the hieroglyphic inscriptions of ancient Egypt. So, in a nutshell, you can say that a lot of things wouldn't exist if not for Napoleon. This extends to the Napoleonic Wars, whose existence fostered a few discoveries such as military rations in the form of cans. That's right. The process of canning food was discovered due to the wars and their requirement for extended food preservation. The government also actively promoted the sugar beet industry, which involved extracting sugar from sugar beets rather than sugarcane. This initiative was prompted by a disruption in French trade routes, which resulted in a lack of sugar supplies across Europe. Not only was sugar a valuable commodity, but it also served as a preservative, tying into what we mentioned before.
What is your name?
Napoleon.
As the course of my life just changed.
To close off the video, what else would be more appropriate than, well, the man's last words? It's documented that Bonaparte passed away on the remote island of St. Helena on May 5, 1821. However, there are a whole bunch of holes in eyewitnesses' accounts of his last words. Most witnesses recall him mentioning something related to the army, while some accounts include references to France and Napoleon's son. General Charles de Montholon, a witness, claimed that Napoleon also uttered the name Josephine in his final moments. Notably, this account was not documented until 2 whole decades after Napoleon's death, when Montholon was imprisoned alongside Louis Napoleon, who was the future Napoleon III. This raises the possibility that Montholon may have had political motives to emphasize Josephine's role, possibly to garner French support for their cause. What do you think? And to add to this, what are your favorite lesser-known facts about this historical figure? Share your thoughts with us in the comment section, and if interested, check out our other videos. Every like and subscription helps, so we thank you for dropping by. We hope to see you again. Same channel, different time.